right? Okay. So here's the thing. I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. When Kat first asked me to be part of this event, I was excited, but also terrified. I mean, what could I add to the conversation? Do I, a half-white, half-Indian American woman, have any right to talk about my own experiences with race? And what does my own uncertainty about my experiences say about me? Since birth, my twin sister, Marissa, and me have been given categories by our parents to distinguish us. She's the outgoing one. I'm the shy one. She's thin and I'm not. And I'm the taller of the two of us. But one distinction in particular has always baffled me. Because she inherited my father's black hair and facial features, she is the Indian one. Whereas my brown hair and light eyes given to me by my mother make me the white one. Carrying this label with me as a child, I thought I didn't explain to other people that I was biracial, my father was Indian. They could never guess I wasn't white like them. I don't know what kind of logic my brain was functioning under at the time. Even my skin tone suggests I'm mixed, but all I knew is that I never felt the right to claim that I was Indian. My father was Indian. From India, not Native American. I always had to explain that to confuse white people. He was Indian, but I was white, just like my mother. And we were raised white, too. My sister and I never learned Hindi or Gujarati, and we couldn't handle spicy food, so we always used to put raita, which is kind of like yogurt, not really, over anything that was too hot. I remember I used to beg my father to take me to the Hindu temple with him, but still feel completely lost every single time. We would circle around the temple, praying to Krishna and Vishnu and Ganesh, but I didn't know who was the god of what or even how to pray. And despite coming in with my father and being accepted by everyone there, I still felt like an outsider. I felt like I didn't belong there. I wasn't Hindu enough or brown enough. And despite any kind of consolation my father could give me, I felt like I never could. Although sometimes I felt like a foreigner with my white family too. I'd get compliments on my tan skin, but never really feel like a Brian because my last name was Patwa. But since I grew up with the same culture they did, American culture, the barrier was much less concrete. Because I grew up in upper middle class, Midwestern suburbs, I never had to learn how to be white. Everyone around me was white. My friends, my neighbors, my classmates, everybody was white. White culture, which I thought was synonymous to American culture, was all I felt I knew. A few years ago, I remember visiting some of my Indian family in California, and a friend of my cousins began speaking to me in Gujarati. She couldn't understand that I didn't know the language, couldn't comprehend that I didn't call older men and women uncles and aunties, and laughed when I told her I could not eat spicy food. You're an ABCD, she told me. Sorry, a what? An American-born confused Desi. She told me that I was among a growing group of young people with parents from South Asia, raised in the States, but confused about their identities, both as Desis and as Americans. Of course, I hesitated to adopt the term. First of all, was I really Desi? Could I call myself a Desi person even though my mother was white and American? I later realized that the most important part of that acronym, for me anyway, was the C. Confused. I was confused and still am what my racial makeup means to me. It took coming to Bennington for me to even begin to find a voice, not only as an Indian woman, but as a biracial woman, someone who is both white and non-white. I started my journey in learning more about my Indian heritage when the college paired me with my roommate and one of my closest friends, Farah Muhammad, who's from Pakistan. We began to joke about who was better, Indians and Pakistanis, and from these conversations I was able to begin to piece together my identity, although timidly, of course, as not only an Indian woman, but also simultaneously learn about my father's culture. Even though we had different nationalities, she's Pakistani and I'm American, we were still both ethnic Desi. Which is not to say that Pakistanis and Indians are the same, of course not, but we can't deny our similarities. It has been with the help of my Desi friends here, including Farah, Fatima, Anushka, Kat, and Soom, that I have begun to learn how to piece together my identity as a Desi person, learn how to reclaim and embrace all different aspects of Indian culture I just wasn't aware of growing up. It's not like I came to the Bennington with the intention of learning how to be an Indian woman or how to embrace my biraciality, but I will always be grateful for the acceptance I've had from the Desi community here. From joining the Bollywood Flash Mob Club to wearing my first salwar kameez, to learning how to make curry and having my friend Fatima encourage me to get my nose pierced the right way, the brown way, to watching Indian films together, I've gotten more exposure to Desi culture here than I ever had growing up. Not that I'm an expert now. What I do know is this: there is no one way to be Desi. I wasn't any less Indian before I got here, and I am no less white now. My ethnic background will always be the same no matter where I go or what I do. But now I am able to call my father and tell him how much he and our shared culture means to me. And with a lot of help from my friends, I've begun to shape my own definition of what Desi means to me. I am Desi. I am Desi not just because of my genes, but because of my family's history. I am Desi because my father and his parents and their parents were Desi too. My great uncles who marched with Gandhi, choosing to wear homemade clothes only made from khadi in protest of the British rule, they make me Desi. My grandmother, my grandmother, who spoke to me in Gujarati, Nasanu, Marathi, and Hindi, and English, who cooked for me and my sister before we could barely walk, whom I watched pass away before my eyes at 6 years old, she makes me Desi. And my father, who decided to stay in this country when his own father passed away, instead of leading his funeral as the tradition goes, who decided to stay here because his wife, my mother, her mother was dying. He makes me Desi. Desi and proud. And this is why I'm here tonight. Yes, I am Indian. Yes, I am white. And hell, yes, I am an American-born confused Desi, but you know what? I am proud, so proud of everything I am. I've come to realize it doesn't matter if people see me as biracial, recognize me as biracial when they see me. I am a new definition of Desi, one that I am creating for myself, that is and always will be constantly evolving.
Wow, Breana, I completely feel you on that one. I'm more of a CAD, which is a confused Americanized Desi. You know there's a full alphabet to this, right? Like the ABCD thing, and I looked it up. So it goes, after American-born confused Desi, emigrated from Gujarat, house in Jersey, kids learning medicine, now owning property, quite reasonable salary, 2 uncles visiting, white xenophobia, yet zestful. Who writes this stuff? And also, I looked this up as well, and coconuts is a derogatory term, which is used to basically refer to people white on the inside and brown on the outside. I don't know, I think I'm more of like a deep-fried Oreo. So anyway, finally we have our closing performance of the night, entitled Who Are You Today, by our very own president, Marcus.